Hey, soccer fans, this is Nick, and Mike is back here on Sons of a Pitch, Soccer Central. We are coming to you this Monday, November 7th, with our usual live chat covering all things MLS, but mostly we're talking MLS Cup Final, the black and gold of LAFC defeating Philadelphia Union. Doop goes down in penalty kicks. LAFC lifts the cup. And we're going to talk about each and every moment that occurred in those 120 minutes plus shootout. That's going to be the first half of the show. We do have our sponsor break and Chicago Fire update at halftime. And then we are going to look ahead in the second half of our show towards some of the upcoming soccer tournaments, the World Cup, CONCACAF Champions League, and we'll touch a little bit on the MLS offseason. But just like we do every week, we got to get pumped with that intro music. Hey, soccer fans, this is Nick for Sons of a Pitch, Soccer Central, once again getting ready to discuss all things MLS, but especially MLS Cup. And we welcome everyone into the chat already. Ramon Poblano jumping in early. The LAFC fan is excited to get underway. Brother BKL Contreras joining us as usual. A new Wiseman, Angus McCorder, and everyone else out there listening in podcast land. And Junior jumping on the chat as well. But guys, we are just most thrilled to have our guy, our host, our founder, Mike is back live with us. Mike, it's been a while, man. How you feeling?
Hey, it's been a while, man. I'm feeling good. Things are starting to bounce back in the right direction. And, I actually watched an MLS soccer game, an MLS Cup. So things are moving up, man. This is good stuff. I'm glad to be hanging out with you guys and chatting it up about an amazing game.
Mike, I guess if you had to pick an episode to come back to, you had to pick a game to watch, like this was the one. And before we get into the actual talk, just a few reminders to everyone, our usual housekeeping. We love that you have found us, that you're listening to us on a podcast and on YouTube. The best thing you can do to continue to support us, click an ad, let a commercial run, listen to the ad. It puts a few pennies in our pocket every time that happens. You can send a super chat or a super thanks here on YouTube. Mike is back. Usually Mike's the good luck money man, so I'm feeling pretty good about a couple super chats coming in tonight. And also, if you want to take your support to the next level and join us as a sponsor of Sons of a Pitch, you can email us at sonsofapitchsoccer@gmail.com or direct message us on Twitter at SOPsoccer. And now let's get into it. Mike, let me just get your initial impressions on MLS Cup. Like, what did you expect going in? How did you feel after watching all of the insanity? What are your initial thoughts? And then we can break down some of the stats and then get into some of the kind of the storylines a bit.
Yeah, I mean, my initial thoughts going into this game was it's going to be a great game. You've got the best in the West against the best in the East. And I expected it to live up to be a great game. Now, Philly, I expected LAFC to come through. Philly, God bless them, they're a very good team, but they don't spend enough money. They don't have enough pieces, and it killed them against a team that does in their house. But I expected a great game, and I think one of those things that I saw running up to this was that this game was the last game before COVID happened, when everything shut down in the league. And remember, we were so mad because we had finally just started doing live stream reactions. We were like, what the hell? What is this? We're finally, we figured out this new way of making things pop off on Sons of a Pitch. And then boom, COVID happens. The last game was Philly at LAFC, and it was that 4-3 barn burner. It was just a great matchup. And man, this one was even better. And I didn't think it was going to be able to be even better, but it was.
I had no idea that was the last game before COVID. That is some wild kind of history right there. No, I'm with you, dude. And anyone who's been listening to the show knows that for like the last 3 months, I've been calling for this matchup. This is what I wanted to see. This is what I think most fans of the game wanted to see. Obviously, if you're not an LAFC or Philly fan, you want your team in there. But if it wasn't going to be your team, this was the matchup we wanted. The two best teams all season long. This wasn't a team that gets hot right before the playoffs and makes a run. These are the two best teams all season long. And what's the statistic? This is the first time the number 1 and number 2 teams have played an MLS Cup since 2003, I think. So that's just how crazy the playoffs can be, as well as just the parity in the league. And the other thing, you had Philly and LAFC tied for the Supporter Shield. LAFC wins it on tiebreakers. And then the icing on Philadelphia's cake is the Phillies also lost the World Series the same day that LAFC beats them in MLS Cup. So the city of Philadelphia licking their wounds right now, but hopefully they'll recover from that. So let's take a quick look at some of the statistics here, and then we can get into a bunch of the storylines. And Mike, as I'm running down these stats, jump in if anything stands out to you. Let me know what you think, because I'm surprised by the possession, and it was a really interesting kind of tactical matchup between two teams who prefer to counterattack, despite both of them having good skilled players in possession. But Philly had 53% of the possession in this game, which was a little shocking to me. But only 3 shots on goal, and how many did they score? 3 shots went in. So that is efficiency on offense, I suppose. Looking at the passing numbers, 450 to 497 LAFC to Philly, but the completion percentage, 70% LAFC, 72% Philadelphia Union. So not the most crisp passing game, but when you got two teams who like to press and counter, that is not surprising at all. Philly's 24 crosses seem big, but the fact that LAFC won 14 more, that's it. I'm trying to do fast math here, not my forte. They won 14 more duels than the Union, 82 to 68. That really stood out to me, because that showed that LAFC was sitting back and absorbing pressure for chunks of the game. And if we go down to the actual kind of possession intervals here, yeah, you're seeing there were chunks of it where Philly was dominating the possession and LAFC was able to absorb all of that. We're looking at the passing numbers here. You can see terrible in the final third. Both teams really had trouble creating, and that's why 5 of the 6 goals were off of set pieces. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a 1 and a 1.6 expected goals for these teams, because they just did not have it in the final third. Again, not surprising considering you're playing with a historically good Philadelphia Union defense and a historically good LAFC team. So those are the numbers. Mike, what stood out to you from match play, tactics, stats, anything of that nature?
What stood out to me was just was Philly's fight, man. They were just like bulldogs, and they, the press, and they go down, they get it right back. And that's that's Philadelphia. If they weren't winning a game 4-0 in the regular season, if they did get into a test, 9 times out of 10 they were able to bounce back and get that tying goal, go take the lead. It's just Jim Curtin and that style of play with a low budget roster, and they did it again in this one on, what was it, Sunday? It was very interesting to see. It was a couple of times right after that first goal by Kellen Acosta. I figured, okay, LAFC at home, they get the lucky bounce. It's going to go their way. Then they tied it up. Then again, in the 83rd, you're thinking, okay, that's it. It's over now. Like LAFC, they put the hammer in the coffin. There's 7 minutes left, and no, they come right back and tie it up. Just the fight in Philadelphia and that team is very impressive.
Absolutely. And the fight, the grit, the way to grind out results, and the way to play through, 130 minutes or so of soccer is incredible. But Jim Curtin did an interview with MLS Extra Time, and before that, and during that interview before MLS Cup, he said, like, you can't go down to Philly and then change your game plan and start throwing, or I'm sorry, you can't go down to LAFC, change your game plan, and start throwing numbers forward because they'll absorb it and counter. And next thing you know, a 1-0 deficit turns into 3-0. So I give credit to him and everyone in Philly, from the players through all the coaching staff, for like having that in their mindset that we don't have to just flood numbers forward, go into panic mode the moment we go down, especially in a cup final. And they kept their composure, they kept their formation. LAFC changed things up a little bit, and I think they sat a little deeper. And then the teams with their substitutions as well. The Corey Burke substitution in the 72nd minute, I think, if I recall, just looking at some of my notes, that really put a lot of pressure on the LAFC back line. And gosh, who knows if he could have stayed fit through the rest of extra time if he would have changed the game. But just to recap quickly, the big moments: Acosta's goal in the 28th minute opened up the scoring, that crazy deflection, which Andre Blake just was going the wrong way. It deflected back to his right. Just a crazy goal to give up, especially in a cup final. But Mike, you're right to praise Philly for not letting that kind of get to them emotionally. And then after halftime, Gazdag equalizes in the 59th. Murillo goes up for LAFC in the 83rd. Jack Elliott, center back Jack Elliott, with goals in the 85th and 120th +4 for the Union. And then Bale with the late equalizer in the 120th +8. Yeah, can you believe the center back gets 2 goals in an MLS Cup final? You think teams are going to start investing in more center backs?
No, probably not. But I mean, Jack Elliott, the guy's been solid throughout his career with the Union, but he's never been that name that really puts fear in the hearts of opposing offenses, right? Because you're like, Jack Elliott, whatever, he's okay, he's a homegrown kid. But man, a brace in MLS Cup final, like, that's pretty damn impressive. But I gotta say, Gareth Bale. Mm-hmm. Apparently he's fallen pretty far since over the last couple of years, but this is a guy who came over strictly, his whole reasoning for coming over to MLS was to play in MLS Cup Final to stay fit for the World Cup. The guy comes into the game. What was it? When did he get subbed on exactly? I mean, it was close to extra time, or maybe right before extra time, or even in extra time.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
The guy comes in late in the game and bags the tying goal with a header. Like, this is, the conspiracy theorist wants to go crazy in me. It says, what is this? This guy comes over just to, score the game tying goal and be the hero in LA, before. But I'll tell you, the hero in this game was that backup keeper, McCarthy. And apparently there's some storyline there for with McCarthy and being with Philadelphia, and then apparently something to do with he ended up moving out. He's been traveling around a few teams or something like that. I didn't get a chance to really look into it, but here you've got the backup keeper. I mean, what a story. Well, I mean, this was insane. I mean, it is. I see Jay's comment there. I know a team that needs a few center backs. Yes, Jay. Yes, please. Can we please shore up the back? Especially with the news of Crescito possibly retiring as well. So we'll maybe talk about TFC a little bit later, even though I don't really have much to talk about with them. But what a moment for Gareth Bale and LAFC to tie that game up, and then that keeper, man, wow. McCarthy, there's a new says McCarthy won MVP. He should have. I was talking to my son when we were watching it. We actually were watching it probably 2 or 3 hours late because I was coaching his soccer team. We had a game at 5:15 Central. It was literally right as extra time was starting. We're heading onto the field to start playing. And I'm like, all right, well, we're just going to have to watch this later. And we watched it later, and I said to my son, because he loves goalies ever since meeting Bono and getting his shirt and everything like that from Toronto. I'm like, Tom, can you imagine being on the bench? This is why you stay mentally in the game. This is why you have to have a strong mental fortitude going into this, because you never know. You can be the backup keeper. You're just sitting there. You're like, 99 times out of 100, you're just going to sit there the entire game and nothing's going to happen. And here's this kid. I don't even know if he's a kid. He's probably a kid to me because I'm old. But he comes in the last minute of the game after an injury. Well, not last minute, but last 5 minutes plus, and then steals the show to be MLS Cup MVP. Absolutely insane. I mean, the guy's a club legend. Retire his number, retire his name now. Just get it done, LAFC.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's totally like backup quarterback in the NFL. Like it's the best job in the world until the starter goes down, right?
Right.
Here's your John McCarthy profile. Born in Philadelphia on the 4th of July. He's 30 years old, Mike. So yeah, maybe a kid to you and me. 30 years old. He played for LaSalle College, and then here's his Wikipedia senior career. The Ocean City Nor'easters, Reading United, Rochester Rhinos. In 2015, he gets picked up by the Union, has a few years between the Union and Bethlehem Steel, plays a year with Tampa Bay Rowdies, 2 years with Inter Miami, and then just this year gets signed by LAFC. So far, his Wikipedia page has one appearance for LAFC, and if it's the MLS Cup, what an appearance it is, that's for sure. I had like Ethan Horvath, Mexico vibes for a little bit going on in that game. Hey, let's jump into some of these comments here, Mike. We got a lot of good chat going on in this game. Connor Knows Soccer has joined us. Jay Jardim has joined us. Talk NYCFC is here. Angus McCorder had some good comments jumping in. So let's talk about that substitution, because they were saying 97th minute, Brother BKL says Bale comes in for Vela. That was a little shocking. I would have liked to see Vela in the PK shootout and see what he does, but that's interesting that they subbed out kind of the man for LAFC over the last 5 years. But I guess, bringing in a winger for a winger is probably the right thing to do in that one. Here's the big one. Talk NYCFC says Red Bulls and Philly Union can't say stuff to us now. We getting a new stadium too. Have you heard anything about New York City getting a new stadium?
I have not, but I'm sure Talk NYCFC is going to tell us all about it.
No, Mike, this is your favorite topic on the podcast. Like, no matter what we're talking about, what time of year it is, we always trying to find a way to work in you ripping on Yankee Stadium as a soccer venue.
Dude, can please get them a stadium, please. Been doing this way too long. Yankee Stadium is shit. It is absolute garbage. Why is this team playing? Especially, you look at this. NYCFC made it to the Eastern Conference Finals again this season. Yep. In a down year for them. Let's be serious. It wasn't a great season for New York City overall. When you factor in that they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, still a good year.
But good finish, but there was definitely they left some stuff on the table.
This is a team who's going to be there, right? You've got NYCFC, you've got your LAFCs, you've got your Seattle Sounders. Tom, that's not going to work, bro. Stop kicking the ball against the wall. Stop. Thank you.
Raising the next generation. There you go.
The next generation, right? But man, please, for Brother BKL's sake, for DSO's sake, for all of the New York City fans that we have watching with us, please, God, let them get a stadium, because it is death. Like Angus says right there, watching a soccer match in Yankee Stadium tortures my eyesight. It is horrid. It is horrific. And let's be serious. If you want to bring this league to be one of the top leagues in the world come 2026, you've got to get rid of the Yankee Stadium. It has to go, period. You have to have your big clubs in a stadium where, if it's not a soccer-specific stadium, at least it's a big stadium that's full, that has a great atmosphere. Because Yankee Stadium, even though New York City has good-sized crowds for MLS numbers, dude, it's empty. It's a big cavern, man. Like, it's a stadium that holds 50,000 people. And even on a great crowd, they've got 35, which still, you've got tons of empty seats. So overall, get just Yankee Stadium, goodbye. I would honestly rather watch New York City play at like a college soccer stadium with, maybe 10,000 seats that are constructed for those events, temporary seating or something. But man, it's ugly. But Talk NYCFC, please get that stadium. Just get that stadium. And I don't care if it's not that cool looking of a stadium, just get them out of Yankee Stadium, please.
So according to Wikipedia, they actually have they have a Wikipedia page for New York City FC Stadium, and all it is like 8 different proposals for proposal 2011, proposal 2012, proposal 2013, 2015, 17, 18. Finally, the 2019 proposal may actually get approved. So yeah, good for them. They should just pull an Arizona Coyotes. That's hysterical.
Don't even, Jay. Don't even. That is, man, the Coyotes, that is a joke.
I can't even remember what franchise they were before Arizona now.
Yep. So they were the Quebec. They were Quebec, or were they Winnipeg? Okay. I can't remember if they were Winnipeg or Quebec. I thought it was Quebec City, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, the Coyotes, man, they're playing in basically a minor league arena. It's bad news.
And then BKL breaking some NYCFC news here, saying that Anton Tinnerholm is going to leave NYCFC and head to Sweden. That's an interesting move for him. I don't know. If I could, I'd probably rather stay in MLS than go play in Sweden if it were me, Mike, especially the way the league is going. What do you think about going and playing in the Swedish league?
I don't know much about the Swedish league other than it's not a big league. MLS isn't a big league either. Let's be serious. But maybe he just wants to go home. Maybe that's the driver here. He's getting the same type of money that he'd be getting in New York City, and he's just ready to go home. And that's all I can think of, because if you're judging the talent that's in those two leagues, MLS has got much better talent than the Swedish league, from top to bottom. You've got a couple good teams in the Swedish league that could probably beat 99% of the MLS teams, like the top 1, 2, or 3 teams. But outside of that, it's a better quality of play here in MLS. But that's all I can think of, is maybe the guy's ready to go.
Yep.
He just wants to go home.
He is a Swedish international. He has appearances for the national team. He's reportedly set to go to Malmo, which is the top club in Sweden, and I believe has had a few Champions League performances. Yep. So that's not a bad move for him then, if he thinks he can get back to Champions League, and who knows, maybe get in to Sweden for like a Euros or something in a couple years. Like might not be a bad move for him. But this is MLS Cup recap. And we have gone NYCFC. We have gone player transfers. We've talked to everything. I think, Mike, we should probably do like a league recap, end of the season recap next week sometime, where you and I can just bust all these kind of news stories and break them out. But I want to talk a little bit more about the PK shootout, Mike. Have you ever seen a PK shootout end up 3-0 in such a manner? Like, it looked ridiculous to me. First of all, just that Gazdag slipped, because that, I think, changed the entire dimension of it.
Yeah, not in the final. I've seen him, in quarterfinal matchups and, things like that, but never in a final do you see a 3-0 scoreline, especially with it starting with the winning team missing their first penalty, right? So Blake getting that save there on the first penalty on, I believe it was Tello.
Yes.
And then Philly you get another chance. You get the chance there. Gazdag, a guy who in Philly, they're screaming some MVP chance for him. He wasn't on that level, but still a very good season for him. And he misses. Then you go down the list, and then there's the save. And it was a crazy penalty shootout. Not something you see every day, that's for sure. But, a final 3-0 like that is pretty wicked.
Yeah, and I think it's worth pointing out, because I was watching the game. First of all, I was watching the game with my dad, my wife, and my kids, and like they were all into it. Like that tells you just how amazing this game was. Even my wife, as we started extra time, was like, kids, look at how happy your father is watching this game. Just look at how he's smiling as he's watching the extra time kick off, and all these crazy things are happening. Like my whole family got sucked into it. That's how great of a game it was, and that's how exciting even all the way through the penalty shootout was. But of course, there's my dad. You got to know he's like the MLS hater. My dad actually played college soccer for Triton Community College here around Chicago and for Northern Illinois University, then went on and played at graduate school. So he was a player in his day, and he just loves ripping on MLS just to try to piss me off, like as all dads do. He's like, look at how terrible all these guys are for Philly. They can't hit a penalty, blah, blah, blah. But it's worth pointing out, yeah, Gazdag slips. It's worth pointing out that McCarthy is the backup goalkeeper. His job in preparation for these games is to know everything about the other team's penalty shooters. That is the job of the backup goalkeeper, to study the film, to study the stats, and to prepare that. And as much as Crépeau, as the starting goalkeeper, should know that stuff, but like that is the backup's job in the game prep, because Crépeau's working with the starting lineup. He's working on set pieces and plays and just staying fit to go 90, 120 minutes or whatever it is, plus a shootout. So that's why that's why McCarthy had such a good bead and a good performance. Not to take away anything. I mean, preparation is a part of the success, is actually pulling it off, right? But I think that was huge. Mike, what do you think about Crépeau? Speaking of talking about goalies, how was his game? How was that red card, the injury, the World Cup effect that's going to have for him in Canada? Like, talk to us about Crépeau a bit here.
Yeah, Crépeau, I saw the play. We didn't see any replays of what happened because of the injury. So Fox decided, well, the injury was too gruesome to show the replays. Well, get the hell out of here. All right. Who cares if it's gruesome? Yeah. Just watch. I want to see what happened in the game. I want to see, it was a red card play. So obviously he missed, or according to the refs, he missed. But I didn't get to see it. When I saw it live, it didn't look like a red card to me. Injury wise though, he's out for a while. World Cup effect. Not much. I mean, he's a backup for Canada, if that. There's a lot of good players for Canada, a lot of good young goalkeepers. I mean, Dane St. Clair, Maxime Crépeau, same difference. You're not going to have much of a drop-off at that level. You've got Milian Borjan, that's the striker, or the goalie. And he's the starter regardless. Now, obviously, if he went down, maybe there's a piece there. But Max Crépeau, it sucks to see that. You hate to see a guy go out in that situation, right? But other than that, I mean, I don't really know what happened outside of seeing it live. I only watched it once. I didn't rewind it, play it over and all that kind of stuff. But it sucks to see him go out like that, but it worked. And the guy was doing all the right things. He gave the thumbs up to the crowd, it gave him that extra motivation with him going down. Anytime a guy gets injured, though, you hate to see it. But luckily for him, it's the last game of the season. He'll be back next year at some point and whatnot. But yeah, the World Cup for him personally, it sucks because he would have been on the roster. He would have been second or third keeper, period. But that hurts.
For sure. So it was a broken leg. He had surgery on it today. And who was it? Twellman was saying, we're not going to show it due to the nature of the injury. As soon as we were all watching like, oh, what's the replay? Twellman says we're not going to replay it because it's a bad injury. The moment he says that, my dad just picks up the remote, hits pause, rewind, and goes back about 2 minutes and pauses it right at the moment Crépeau, and I forget who the offensive player was. It was Corey Burke. Right as Burke separates from Crépeau, yeah, Jay, that's exactly it. My dad hits pause, and you see Crépeau's leg just hanging there. So it was pretty gruesome. It's broken leg, it was bad. I don't understand how someone, maybe it's adrenaline, maybe Maxime Crépeau is just one of the biggest badasses nobody talks about. The dude's leg snapped. And he just sits up, looks at the sideline, is like, come on over, trainer. I need a trainer. And he's just sitting there, leg dangling. That's incredible. I never thought.
I can tell you, Nick, I've been there. When I was playing hockey when I was younger, I was 20 years old, and I broke my leg, ankle, and foot, tore my Achilles, snapped the front tendon on the top. My foot was dangling. I didn't feel a damn thing.
Yikes! The
I
body just kind of
screamed
goes into
the
shock.
second it happened. That's all I remember. I remember screaming when it happened, and outside of that, I didn't feel a damn thing. Like
Wow.
the momentum, the adrenaline, the amount of pain, your body just goes into shock, is my guess, because the amount of damage that was done to my leg. And I was just like, I actually tried to get up. I'm like, all right, well, let's keep going. The guy's like, you okay, man? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I stand up, and then my foot just, it was the end of it. It just went right back down. And I'm like, yeah, it's not good. And, but that's it. I think the adrenaline's a crazy thing, man. So that must have been the same type of situation. When you get a bad enough injury, you don't even know.
Yeah. So, and also to your point about the red, yellow, and red, Elfath, the referee, who was named referee of the year, I think, by MLS, he initially gave Crepeau the yellow card because he was way out of the box, and Burke was the last player, and they were the last player. So it was a dog-so red card, denial of obvious goal-scoring opportunity. He gave him a yellow initially, and then VAR reviewed it and said, go back, and it's a red card. So he did the right thing from an official standpoint. I guess he did the right thing from like a person standpoint, where like they waited to make sure Crepeau was stable, and then he's like, here's a red card. Like he just kind of like got it in there. Like he wasn't holding.
Before we get to break.
Yeah.
I need to talk about this for a second.
All right, go ahead, and then we'll lead into the break. All right.
I thought the rules were for VAR, and maybe this is just me being out of the game for a few months with everything that's been going on in my life, but it used to be if a yellow was given, that's not reviewable. It has to be nothing and then VAR the red. And that was what really caught my eye, was that he gave the yellow. So as soon as that happened, I figured, okay, because when the trainer ran out, he immediately signaled for the sub. So I'm like, all right, he's going out regardless. But I didn't know that you could give a yellow card and then VAR it and then give red. I thought it had to be a no call or a red card. Then it could be VAR to either have the red card rescinded or give the red card afterwards. But that, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe they changed something. That's all I can think of.
Yeah. Here. So I'm trying to find up the 4 rules or the 4 occurrences when you can use VAR. One of them is offside. One of them is if a card was issued to the wrong player. One of them is a potential. Was it a potential penalty or foul in the box? I forget exactly how that's worded.
Penalty, right.
If there's serious misconduct. So I think dog-so is actually one of the enumerated ones where they can go back and review it regardless of the call or non-call on the field. They can go back and I think that's it. So that may answer that question. But it's been a while since I read the rules. I probably should go back and read the rules. I got into a Twitter argument with someone a few weeks ago about if you get the ball first, it's not a foul. I'm like, that has nothing to do with whether or not it's a foul.
Right.
It may help determine severity, but the guy's like, nuh-uh, why don't you read the rules? And he cited it. The funniest thing was this guy actually found the IFAB rule.
I remember that.
And put it on Twitter and then immediately argued the opposite of what the rule said. So that was fantastic. I hope you're listening, person, whoever's name I forget. But yeah, a couple quick comments here in the chat, Mike. We have Talk NYCFC saying that the NYCFC players were trolling Philly, and even Hebert got in the chat and was talking back. I'm a big fan of Hebert now. If he's going to talk trash on Twitter, that's phenomenal content. Brother BKL says reminded him of the Philly Nashville game a little bit, as far as I think the some of the penalty stuff maybe. And even Talk NYCFC says another 3-0 penalty scoreline, Chile and Portugal, 2017 Confederations Cup. Anu Wiseman says same 3-0 result. Cameroon versus Egypt in the African Cup of Nations semifinal just this year. So it's happened a few times. All right. That's not bad. So with that, we are going to jump into our break. If you are listening on the podcast side, you are going to hear a word from John Donovan regarding the Chicago Fire, as well as some of his thoughts on the MLS Cup game. For those of you on the YouTube side, go subscribe to the podcast. so you can get all the extra content and take us with you wherever you go. We're going to take a quick 30-second break. Then we've got a few pictures that Ramon has sent us from MLS Cup, and we are going to talk about a few things: World Cup, CONCACAF Champions League, but all of that in about 30 seconds. We'll be right back. All right, soccer fans, we are back from halftime. Once again, a big thank you to John Donovan for keeping us up to date on all things Chicago Fire. He actually gave out player grades for some of the top Chicago Fire starters. You're going to be surprised by some of the grades he gives out, I think. Mike, maybe you won't be as much because you know John a little bit better than everybody. But I think for our regular listeners, you'll be a little bit surprised about how hard of a grader John has been on the Chicago Fire and their coach this year. But go give it a listen if you're not already subscribed to the podcast. But also a big thank you to Skira Icelandic Spring Water. Mike, I don't know if you heard or saw the other episodes. Like when I was in Iceland recently, they're telling us, go ahead, drink the tap water. Go ahead, it's fine. Drink, like Iceland's tap water is the equivalent of American mineral water, sparkling water. So you can imagine how good Skira is if Skira is taking the best of the natural mineral water from Iceland. That's just how good it is. So definitely everyone go out, buy a bottle of Skira, get to your local 7-Eleven, and support our sponsor because they support us. We got a couple more people jumping in the chat I want to recognize real quick. David Day jumping on in. LAFC setting the new standard in MLS, Seattle Sounders, and LAFC. Actually, David, that's a great point that you make. Mike, you know all about Seattle Sounders, being a Toronto FC fan. Seattle, 13 straight years before finally missing the playoffs, but wins CCL, couple cups, great players. Is LAFC in that almost kind of dynasty level talk? Like 5 years, 2 supporter shields, and an MLS Cup. I think LAFC made 4 of 5 playoffs. Like, where do you see LAFC as a franchise right now?
Well, I mean, LAFC's right there at the top as far as one of those franchise dynasty. I don't know about that, but man, David Day, great to see you again, man. It's been a while, but I can't go dynasty yet. I can't put it at that level. A good MLS club, absolutely. They're right there in the upper echelon with the Seattle Sounders, Portland Timbers, Toronto FCs, New York Cities, maybe even Philadelphia after their run and the amount of success that they've had over the past few years. But yeah, there is definitely an upper echelon to MLS. LAFC is there. Are they at the point of dynasty? No, probably not. But man, and Daniel Young, good to see you, Daniel. I hate overnight and morning shift, man. I don't blame you. I have been there, brother. I have been there, and they suck. So good luck to you on the overnight and the morning shift, but it's great to see you, dude. Really good to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely, Daniel, man. Thanks for checking in. I hope you've been watching and keeping up to speed with everything, and wishing you well, especially on the overnights. I only say I work overnights because I have kids, and sometimes they wake me up at the most random hours asking for the most random things. I think my son wanted a Lego at 3 a.m. earlier this week. I'm not exactly sure what he was kind of babbling. Anyway, thank you all for jumping in. Let's look at a few notes here, a few things upcoming as far as the world of soccer, and I emphasize world because we have the World Cup, the greatest sporting event in the world as far as I am concerned, and as far as millions of other people around the world would be concerned as well. The first match we have is November 20th. So in less than 2 weeks, we have Qatar, the host country, hosting Ecuador in the first match on the 20th. That's the only match that day, and then all the big matches kick off on the 21st. Then the USMNT, their group stage matches are against Wales November 21st, England November 25th, and against Iran on the 29th. The knockout rounds start December 3rd, and the World Cup final is on December 18th. I saw that Connor is ready. I see that Jay is ready. I'm pumped. Like, as much as like the MLS just ended and I'm still jacked for MLS Cup, it's like, oh my god, I can go right into World Cup, and then oh my god, we can get right into the heart of the European seasons, and then we can get back into CCL and it's preseason. Like, Mike, I'm going to be on like a soccer adrenaline rush for the next 3 months or so. How are you ready for the World Cup? You excited?
I am, but I'm not. At the same time, it's so weird. I'm like, the World Cup? No, that's in the summer. It just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. But man, I can't wait. I'm so excited to just watch soccer every day from the minute I wake up until the minute I go to bed, because we all know with kids and everything like that, there's no way I'm watching every game live. So it's going to be, I'm sure I'll be DVRing a lot of games and all that, and actually thinking about upgrading the YouTube TV package to get the 4K so that I can watch the games in 4K. But man, I can't wait for the World Cup. But it is weird being that it's going to be in December. It really is a weird thing. But on a scheduling note for the channel, I'm going to be doing a lot of World Cup games here on the channel. I don't know if they're going to get copyrighted or not. We're going to, only time will tell. But the plan is hang out with us, guys. Hang out with us for these World Cup games. I'm going to have the audio running with the footmob.com, breakdown of the passes and the stats and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be during the middle of the day. I'm going to be sitting at my computer working anyway, and I'm kind of modeling these live stream reactions after what I've been doing over on Toronto Sports Insider. So as you guys know, I have my second channel, Toronto Sports Insider. This thing is taking off like crazy. We had 800 people watching Toronto Maple Leafs game on Sunday. It was actually 799 to be exact. So one short of 800. But I mean, are you kidding me? We have 9 people watching right now, Nick. 800 were watching the Leafs game. I can't wait to do the World Cup games in that same format. The thing is, it's a chat room. So jump in if you're watching the game in the middle of the day. I'm not going to be doing the 4 a.m. games. I promise you that. I probably won't be doing the 7 o'clock games either, because that's when I wake up. I wake up at like 6:30. I get ready. I sit down on my computer, take care of my emails. But, man, those 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock games, they're going to be live right here on SOP with that game audio coming from the Fox Sports broadcast. And we're going to have a chat room open. So come hang out. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's so much soccer to watch with this World Cup. USMNT, what do we expect? Canada, what do we expect? It's going to be interesting. I'm not expecting much for the Canadian soccer team. I'm just not. And maybe that's because I'm a Leafs fan. Maybe that's because I'm used to getting, beat down in Canadian sports. But, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And like Jay says, man, I mean, this, World Cup coming up, it sucks that it's in the winter. I cannot get over that fact. It is really screwing with my head, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
For sure. Yeah, Angus McQuarter echoes your sentiment there. It's kind of weird that it's during the winter, he says. And yeah, I agree with it. I'm just happy that it's back. Finally. I do feel like I've been waiting much longer than I should be for it. Mike, you got to teach me how to do those 4 a.m. games. I'll get up. I'll set the streams for us, man, if it helps the channel, if it helps the show. This is cool from Angus. Been actively following every World Cup since 1982. It is going to be different. Dude, that's fantastic. I really got into it in 94. I started watching in 1990. I was 6 years old at the time. Or 5 years old, 6 years old. So I kind of knew that there was something cool going on. But yeah, 94 was my first big one. So you're right. It does feel different. But I think once we get to see the play on the pitch, hopefully then that is like the soccer we've come to expect in the World Cup. We're already used to water breaks now since the Brazil World Cup. That's there. We're already used to teams having to deal with the heat. but hopefully in a good way, because it's in such a tiny country like Qatar or Qatar, however you want to pronounce it, that the travel won't impact the teams as much, that they can get back to their hotels, that they can rest, relax, get refreshed, and hopefully have a quicker recovery or a better recovery. But then on top of that, it's not just the heat. I think they're actually playing a more condensed schedule where usually you would get maybe 4 or 5 days between group stage games. I think now you're only getting 3, maybe 4. I'd have to actually read out the whole schedule to see that. But Mike, you're worried about Canada? Why are you worried about Canada? They're just playing Belgium, Morocco, and Croatia. How could that worry you?
That's exactly why. All right, Belgium. All right. Well, there's not going to be Romelu Lukaku for Belgium. Oh, okay. Who are they going to put in the striker spot?
It's all right. It doesn't matter. De Bruyne is just
anybody else that is one of the best players in the world. It's going to be a tough tournament for Canada. That group sucks. I mean, if they were in the group that the U.S. was in, I would feel good about them getting out of that group. However, with Belgium and Croatia, I mean, everybody thinks, oh yeah, Croatia, not that great of a team. They went to the World Cup final last time.
Yeah.
You got Luka Modric in the midfield, Brozovic. I mean, the players go on and on. They're not the biggest names that you hear every day. I mean, Modric you do, but outside of that, you don't hear them every day, but that is a damn good soccer team. So it's going to be tough. I mean, and then again, you get your shitty game is Morocco. Morocco's got some good players. So absolutely. Should Canada be able to get 3 points out of that match? Yes. But everybody, I think with the way that the Octo went, I think a lot of people expect Canada to be best team out of CONCACAF. I don't see it. Not with the way the groups have shaken out. That falls on the hands and feet of the United States men's national team. They've got the best draw. They've got the best chance to get out of the group. And they've got tons of young talent, and they should. And that's where I want to move it over from the Canada talk. If you want a prediction right now, I'm going to go with prediction of third place. I don't think Canada gets out of the group. Now, the United States absolutely gets out of the group. They should be able to wipe the floor with Wales. I think they can give England a good game. And who's the third team in that group?
Iran is the third team for that.
Okay, so another win, right? So hands down, United States men's national team, I'll tell you right now, if they don't get out of that group, Berhalter's out, and USMNT is a failure for not getting through the group stage, period.
They definitely need to get out of the group stage. I don't think it's as easy as you're making it out to seem, as far as like just walking all over Wales and Iran. Wales should be a win, but I think Wales matches up a little bit better. Like, they can sit deep and try and have the United States break them down. And the U.S. has had a lot of trouble with goal scoring and creativity in the final third. Like, Jesus Ferreira is the de facto number one, but we've been tracking him all season with Dallas and the U.S. He needs to get 5 or 6 shots in order to score 1, maybe 2 goals. So that is going to be a tough match for the United States from a tactical standpoint. We all know England, who's one of the top 5 teams in the tournament, supposedly. And Mike, Iran is actually the top-ranked Asian team right now. They are ranked 20th in the FIFA rankings as of the October rankings. So the United States is playing the number 1 team from Asia, maybe the number 1 team from Europe, and a play-in team in Wales. Like, there's no guarantees there, but I agree with you. They should win. They should get out of the group. And
England couldn't beat Italy. Italy's not even here.
Hey, I'm being the pessimistic lawyer.
Read the notes how you want to read the notes, Nick. But England is shit. All right, they're not a good team.
I hope they play
and
like
they
that.
never are, especially in a World Cup. They never bring their best at a World Cup. So if the U.S. doesn't get out of this group, I'm sorry, but that's a failure.
I would agree with you. And what makes me even happier is if the U.S. get out of this group, then they, in the knockout round, will play their opposite from Group A. So if the U.S. wins the group, they'll play the second place team from Group A. If they take second in the group, they'll play the first place team from Group A. And Group A, the Netherlands, Qatar, Ecuador, and Senegal. So the U.S. has already beat Qatar in Gold Cup. And then I would feel very confident about the USA matching up with Ecuador or Senegal, and then maybe not the Netherlands. So if the US even takes second in the group and matches up with Qatar, I would be thrilled for that matchup. And then if they can beat them and get into the semifinals, that would be just, or I'm sorry, into the quarterfinals. That would be insane. So I'm really hoping for that. Though Connor is saying Senegal, he thinks is going to be one of the two teams to get out of that group with the Netherlands. So that's an interesting take there, Connor. I appreciate that. And for everyone listening, make sure you go find Connor on YouTube and get all of his takes. Even Matthew Mackay jumping in here says Senegal are a really good side, should not be underestimated. Senegal right now, the top ranked African team in FIFA. They are ranked 18th overall, and Morocco is ranked 22nd overall. So you got the two best African teams by ranking against Canada and then the U.S. possibly in the next round there. So some interesting matchups. This is kind of fun to see, but we can't get ahead of ourselves. Can't get ahead of ourselves. Got to get out of the group.
No doubt. I think it's Netherlands and Senegal to get out of that group. Senegal is going to be able to boss Ecuador around, no problem. Like Angus says, they haven't had a ton of success in previous World Cups, but I think that team now is a little bit different with the talent that they have. I expect it to be Senegal and Senegal and Netherlands moving out of Group A, which would be a tough matchup for the U.S. in the second round, but let's just get there first, right?
Absolutely. Real quick, let's touch on CONCACAF Champions League. The draw was just earlier, about an hour before we started our show. We had the draw. As you guys all know from the MLS, we have 5 teams that have made CONCACAF Champions League. Let me see if I can pull up our screen. Here we go. MLS teams join in the round of 16. The prior qualifying is for the Caribbean teams. I think the Canadian Premier League also gets into qualifying with some of the other Central American teams as well. Mike, do you remember, is there a CPL automatic qualifier? Does the winner of the CPL get in?
I can't. They've changed the format so many times in the last few years that I don't remember what exactly for CPL it is. I know they got in to the end of the tournament last year with Forge taking on Cruz Azul. But outside of that, I don't know if they move right into the round of 16 or if they've is this the season that the changed format goes into effect where they have the group stages as well?
That's what I thought. I haven't been able to find anything on Wikipedia. At least I'll have to actually do some real research before the next time we discuss it. But I thought it was going to be this year. If not this year, 2024, they're going to get in. There's going to have a group stages. Right. But as it stands, we have our MLS teams jumping in the round of 16. LAFC is the first team that qualified with the Supporter Shield and MLS Cup. So because of that double, that means that the next best team in their conference gets in. That's Austin FC. And then Philly coming in as the winner of the Eastern Conference then. Orlando City gets in with the U.S. Open Cup, and the Vancouver Whitecaps get in with the Canadian Championship. So that is how those 5 MLS teams qualify. And then if you look real quick, here's the quick qualifying from Wikipedia. Mexico gets 4 teams, U.S. gets 4 teams, Canada gets 1, and Haiti gets the Caribbean Club Championship berth. So they won that tournament, and that's the other automatic direct entry. And then you can see here are the qualified teams from the CONCACAF League. So yeah, Mike, I think that might be what you're thinking of the group stage. They set up the CONCACAF League, and then you've got 3 teams from Honduras, 1 from Costa Rica, 1 from El Salvador, and 1 from Panama joining the mix. So that is going to be a fantastic tournament. I believe this is the first time Austin and Orlando City are in. I think this is the first time Philly might be in as well. No, they won Supporter Shield before. But then the pandemic ended it. So it's going to be really cool to seeing these new teams. It's going to be cool seeing LAFC, who fell short in the final in their last appearance, make a run at it. I think that's going to be fantastic. And I think with Seattle winning it.
CCL, I think the question here is with CCL, which team that's involved out of those 5 is good enough to get it done, and which team out of those 5 is willing to give up their MLS season for success in CCL. Let's be serious. Yeah. If you are going to make a run in CCL, you will not succeed in MLS season, period. I mean, look at the Sounders. This is a team that never missed the playoffs, not one time in 13 years. They go on and win the tournament, make history, and they don't make the MLS Cup playoffs.
Lose Jall for the season.
Well, yeah, but that's one guy. It's a team sport. I get he's a big-time player, but come on.
Yeah.
Austin,
I'll agree with you.
LAFC. Now, here's the team. I'll tell you right now what team it is. It's LAFC, and it usually is the defending champions in MLS that win MLS Cup that go on that run. And that's what's going to happen. LAFC, if they decide to go on a run come CCL time and take it seriously, forget about it. LAF season's going to be trash, and that's it. So, and there, Dick J says, if MLS wants to be great, they need to figure that out. They do. They need to open this damn salary cap up. I've been hounding on it since the day we started this fucking podcast, Nick, and I will continue to just go off on it. MLS needs to get rid of the salary cap, get rid of the BS teams that can't hang, your RSLs, your Salt Lake Cities, your Salt Lake City, it is Salt Lake City, your Kansas City, your Columbus Crews, your teams that do not want to spend a lot of money, and forget about it. Move on. Give these guys an opportunity to build some depth around their roster. Right? I'm feeling you, man. Seriously. Preach. Testify, bro.
Testify.
Seriously. Get rid of the salary cap, guys. It's done. If you want these teams in CCL to be successful and to be successful throughout the MLS season, which, again, you don't need that if you're MLS. You get, all right, Seattle, big-time team. They're great. They're wonderful. They win MLS Cups. They win CCL, and then they're shite for the rest of the season. Fine. If that's what you want, fine. Get rid of it. Get rid of the salary cap or at least move some pieces around so that these 5 teams get an extra $500,000 in salary cap.
Yeah.
Or something.
I'm with you. I wouldn't have used those teams as examples. I would have said more Houston, San Jose as my examples. Even Red Bull.
I've been out of the game, Nick. I've been out of the game, man. I'm sorry.
All good, man. But I like Matthew Mackay's comment here. When CF Montreal played in the CCL this year, they didn't win a single MLS game. When they got knocked out of CCL, they started winning. They could have won this Supporters Shield this year, he says. So, that's something for sure. And Mike, real quick, now we're coming up to the hour mark. Let me segue this. So, do you think it would be easier then for an MLS team to really push their chips in and go for CCL, knowing that they have a new playoff format waiting for them, where it's a group stage type of format? Have you heard about this?
I have. It is some type of change to the system. I'm not a big fan. I'm not. Just give me the regular knockout stage for the CCL. But big shout out, Jay Jardim. I appreciate it, brother. To you guys for a great SOP MLS season. Thank you, Jay. Much appreciated, man. Thank you.
Jay always coming through for us.
Always coming through, man. And I really appreciate it. And yeah, the CCL, I'm not liking the group stage thing. I'm not. But I understand why they're doing it.
Yeah.
They're trying to be more like the UEFA Champions League and trying to build up those TV rights and more games and more content. Mm-hmm. I get it. I don't think CONCACAF is there. I don't.
MLS
with
playoffs,
with teams like Alianza and I don't know, Olympia from Honduras or whatever. That's not the answer.
Yeah.
CCL, the knockout stage, and strictly being a knockout stage, was a good thing because you have the best of the best. The MLS teams, the Liga MX teams, and a few CONCACAF teams mixed in. You had a good formula, and I mean, I'm still going to watch it. I'm not, who am I kidding? I'm still going to watch it.
Right.
But again, we'll see. What are your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, I don't mind them doing a group stage in CCL and then getting into the knockout rounds. I think it's great for the smaller countries to get more chances to play these smaller clubs, similar to how they set up the CONCACAF Nations League. It's going to benefit the smaller footballing nations, the smaller soccer countries, to get them more exposure. And I think that, but I don't like it transitioning also into the MLS Cup playoffs where they're like, let's do a playoff tournament. I don't like that at all, but because they're going from, what was it, like 10 playoff games to like 30 playoff games. I understand it's a money grab. I understand it is, we need more content. I understand we got to pay back Apple for this ridiculous deal. And Daniel Young brings it up. What can the new Apple TV deal do to help the MLS grow? More money, bigger salary cap. Teams need to start being incentivized more to invest in their rosters. I love the fact that franchises and clubs have been investing money into facilities, into academies, MLS Next Pro, MLS Next. Like, that's been great. But now that those are being established, Mike, I'm going to pick up your testifying here, your sermon, Mike, your fiery Pastor Mike sermon, that if you have not built an academy and an MLS Next or MLS Next Pro team at this point, then just get out the way and let the rest of the league advance, because that's where you need to be right now. And any team that's an expansion team coming in, then you need to have this in place. It's got to be part of your infrastructure before you get a bid. I don't like the playoff format, or I don't like group stage in the playoffs, and I ranted about that in episodes previous. You can go back and find that.
All right, so do you want a crazy prediction here, Nick?
Give it to me.
All right, so like Daniel's comment here, what can the new Apple TV deal do to help MLS grow? You know what it's going to do to help MLS grow? The only thing it's doing is reach. Its outlook to a large portion of people that have Apple TV, that have Apple iPhones, and all that kind of stuff. Here's the trick. MLS, if you're listening, I'll give you one tip to make this not be a complete, absolute failure. Give every single person who has an iPhone free access to next season. Every single match, period.
They're halfway there. Every
Outside
season
of that, if you do not bring this exposure out, this is going to fail miserably. I've thought about it, and it's trouble. If you pin half of this, half of the country, because it's broken up like Android and Apple, right? I'm an Android guy. I don't use Apple for anything. Now, you're losing a large part of the viewership, so to say. And this is something where if they don't do it right, this could be very damaging to MLS. But on the flip side, it could be very positive for the league as a whole to grow if you can make this something that's accessible to a large portion of people. Oh, wow, there's soccer on right now on a Saturday afternoon at 2:00 in the middle of the summer. Maybe people will start to pay attention. So I'm hoping that they do something to really push this. You're going to have to give a lot of it away. It's just how it's going to have to be. You're not going to be able to charge a crazy subscription fee for people and see it grow. It's not going to work. So I'm hoping that they do go down that route, because it could be big for the league, but I'm nervous.
Yeah, they are already giving season ticket holders. If you buy season tickets for 2023, you're getting the MLS package. I don't know the details if you still have to get your own Apple TV subscription and then you'll get the free MLS package.
Here's the problem.
Hopefully they keep going with that.
Here's the problem with that. You're giving MLS season ticket holders access to all the games. Great. If you're an MLS season ticket holder, you follow the league, you watch the league, you're going to buy whatever it is to get into the league, period.
And with the new scheduling, it's not going to be the random scheduling anymore. It's going to be more NFL-like, where you have, blocks. So if you're already at the game as a season ticket holder, you're going to miss a third of watching it on TV. Now you get replays. I'll give you that. But I see what you're saying, Mike. I hope that is an impetus to say we do need to do some more promotional stuff and kind of really give some of this stuff away just to give it the juice to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of smart people working in that front office. All right, I'm hoping that they're smarter than me and you, Nick. I hope they can figure this out.
Well, let's grab a few comments then, and we'll wrap. Yeah. We're over an hour already.
Yeah, we got to get running. I got to go pick up my kid from cheer practice. So
yeah, for sure, man. So Jay Jardim says, no way European teams can play on a horse patch at high altitude in 90-degree heat. CCL is special, no doubt about it, Jay. It's special because of just how ridiculous it is at times. I think that is your point there. Matthew Melkai says, how's it even possible to make a 30-game playoff? Matthew, they've proposed, instead of the top 8 teams from the East and West going into a bracket and then single elimination, they've proposed the top 8 teams of the East and West going into groups of 4 and then playing a tournament. That'll be the MLS playoffs. That is what is proposed, right? That's how you get 30 games. What else we got? We got a lot of people jumping in over here. Bernardo,
my man, how are you, brother? Good to see you.
And we have to do a final thing. We got to give our closing comments to our good friend Ramon Poblano, our LAFC resident supporter. He and his guys, Los Cuervos, part of the 3252 supporter section, they got to see a championship live in person in LA. Ramon, we are thrilled for you, for your friends, for your supporters, for all of LA and LAFC. Great pictures, man. Thank you for sending these to us. Thank you for supporting our show and being a part of our conversation of MLS, of soccer in the United States. So, Mike, just look how happy he looks in this picture. He is at Bank of California, beer in hand, watching his team win a chip. Like, that's fantastic.
What I'm seeing is Ramon. It's before the game, and Ramon's hammered, and I like it. He said to me 3 weeks ago, a month ago, something like that. He's like, "Man, it's gonna be my birthday, MLS Cup, all of this. It's gonna be amazing." He's like, "I'm gonna have such a great time. I just know it." And I'm like, "You know what? You're right. It's gonna happen." And I'm so happy for you, Ramon. Absolutely ecstatic, man. I was pulling for LAFC throughout this entire playoffs. Ramon, you've been a huge supporter of this show, of this channel, and everything. And I'm so happy for you, man, that your team was able to get it done and win and bring home the cup, man. I'm super excited for you. And thank you for sharing these photos and videos. You sent a couple videos over. I couldn't get them to work into StreamYard, but some awesome videos there on Instagram. And dude, congratulations. Well done, LAFC. And thank you, Ramon. I appreciate the support, brother.
And with that, thank you to all of our viewers, to all of our listeners, to everyone who jumped in the chat, whether you were here for minute 1, whether you were here for minute extra time, would pick your extra time minute, because Idon jumps on in saying, yo, it's been a while. Thank you, Matthew Melkai, Anu Wiseman, Angus McCorder, Isaiah Paskins even jumps in late to the chat. Glad Kellen Acosta won a championship. Miss him so much, says the Colorado fan. Jay Jardim, Connor Knows Soccer, Brother BKL, and Talk NYCFC. Everybody, thank you. Thank you to John Donovan, to Skira Icelandic Spring Water, available at your local 7-Eleven. Bernardo, thank you for jumping in as well. And Mike, thank you. It is a pleasure to be talking MLS and soccer with you together once again, man. And look at this. We're double digit viewers the entire live, and I know we're going to be getting hundreds more just from your presence, man. Just from your presence.
Don't stop it. Stop. No, it's been great, man. Everybody, this whole crew, this family, man, these SO peeps in the house, guys. It's so awesome to be back and hanging out with you guys. I'm in a crazy stage of life at the moment. Busier than a one-arm paper hanger, and I've used that my entire life, and I will continue to. I don't care how PC it ever gets in this world. I've been crazy busy with life and with work, with trying to rebuild a house in Florida, trying to get a boat out of an empty lot that's like 500 yards away from my parents' house. The list goes on and on, man. Estate accounts and all this kind of stuff that I've been dealing with. And I really appreciate you, Nick, for holding the fort down, and crew. It's been great to see everybody tonight. I don't know when the next time I'll have the time to get in here and chat with you guys, but it's been absolutely fantastic. So thank you for the amazing support, and I miss you guys for real, but it's been a lot of fun for sure.
Well, with that, we're going to say thank you. We'll put on our closing music. We'll let the chat run for another minute. If you guys got any final comments for Mike here, otherwise, turn on those notifications, hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date and be the first to know about all our World Cup coverage and MLS offseason info. Thanks again.